Katy loves bugs and cute bears, and so do I. So I wanted to see if it would be possible to beat Scarlet playing as Katy, which means using only Pokemon which Katy owns, and of course to make things more difficult, we would also have to follow these rules, with our 3 goals for this challenge being to complete the game, become champion, and catch every single Pokemon that Katy had. With all these goals and challenges, let's find out. Can Katy conquer Paldea? I really don't like
You disgusting chipmunks.
Oh, hello there, Clavel. You don't happen to be my father by any chance? No? Never mind. Okay, well, let me choose a starter Pokemon. You see, I hate all of these things. I prefer my little bugs, but there's none available, so we're gonna have to wait a little bit and instead get our hands on our first starter Pokemon, being Teddiursa. I love this little fella. Look at his juicy little back. Speaking of Teddiursa, I want you guys to comment down below what is your favorite bug-type Pokemon in all of the Pokemon regions. Let me know in the comment section. So, now that we have Teddiursa, it is a pretty weak Pokemon, which means when we have to battle none else than the most annoying of rivals, that being Nemona. God, I hate you. Either way, her battle is going to be detrimental to our poor Teddiursa. It's not strong enough, so instead we head to Mesagoza, pick up a new quest, go on to our Pokemon, and ride into the sunset. Well, actually, we ran over to Artisan, where we're going to capture ourselves a Teddiursa. This is another one of the Pokemon which Katy uses, and this is a good one because, well, Teddiursa actually is a normal type and not a bug type, which means it can come in very handy. Afterwards, it's time to go over and take on Katy. Well, this is a bit odd, but before that, we're going to capture another Pokemon to our team. That's going to be Nimble. Now, of course, Nimble is perfect as it evolves, but in its basic version, it is pretty weak. Because of that reason, I make sure to evolve Teddiursa into Spidops, its evolution, which has way higher defense. Afterwards, it's just a gym test, pushing around a giant bean, and then it's time to take on the gym leader. Wait a minute. What did you say your name was? Your name is Katy? You're obviously the fake.
No, I'm not. You're the fake.
No, you're the fake.
Oh, shut up.
Oh my god. Well, we're gonna have to beat her in battle, I guess. So, we're gonna have to defeat the fake Katy in a battle, and of course, we have 3 Pokemon each to use, but we do have a Spidops, which should be stronger and hitting harder, as well as the fact that we can't terrestrialize, so it balances itself out. Now, as for the battle, though, we go with Spidey first and use Silk Trap, which is a really good move, as it will lower the actual speed of the Pokemon when it hits us, but we also get protected. So we take down the 2 of them first easily. Both Nimble and Teddiursa fall to just bug bites, but next up comes, of course, Teddiursa, who is terrestrialized into a bug type, but we just keep spamming Fury Cutter. Unfortunately for the Teddiursa, doesn't hit enough, and we're able to defeat him and get ourselves our first gym badge, and I proved it. I am the superior Katy. Either way, we head over towards the Stony Cliff Titan, and of course, this guy is a giant crab. He's a giant Cloth. If you guys don't like Cloth, leave a like down below. For every like, there's going to be 1 less Cloth in the world. Either way, after dealing with all of this, it looks like it has Anger Shell, which is an ability that increases its attack as well as speed and special attack, lowers the defense anytime it gets hit. So this is perfect for us as we just spam Assurance. And look, the crab is running away. After defeating Cloth with the help of Arven, we get a free sandwich which we give to Koraidon because guess what? We only eat berries. I mean, we are a bear and a bug at the end of the day. Alright, our team is looking pretty solid as we're gonna go and hunt after a few Sunflora. Come here, you bastards. And then it's time to take on Brassius and his very elegant figure. Of course, he's got himself a whole team of specifically grass-type Pokemon, which is perfect for us as grass types are weak to bug. So, first up is going to be Petilil, which we take down with a single bug bite, and when it comes to the next Pokemon, Smoliv, same thing happens. Of course, the final Pokemon is going to be everybody's favorite rock type, of course, Sudowoodo, who I still do not understand why this guy hasn't just gotten the extra new form to give him the typing he wants. Either way, he hits us with a Trailblaze and a Rock Throw, but that doesn't take us down, and Bug Bites are able to take him down, which is perfect as that means we've completed our battle against Brassius and gotten ourselves our second gym badge. And hey, why am I always getting botted by these strangers? So, you wanted to sell me cheese sandwiches, you said?
Yep, cheesy wheezy dragon sandwiches, buddy.
Yeah, no, I'm good, thanks, buddy. Alright, so it's time to go and take on the Open Sky Titan, which is going to be difficult. What is that up there? It's a bird? It's a plane?
It's a Bombardier.
Yeah, it's a Bombardier. Basically, this thing is flying dark, which means it's both effective and weak against us. So what we do is we set up Silk Trap and we go for Pounce. Both of these 2 moves will basically protect us and also lower the speed of the Bombardier, which we're hoping will give us enough of an advantage. However, the wing attacks take us down because we still do not outspeed it. Instead, of course, Freddy Fazbear, and yes, that is definitely what I named our Teddiursa, comes out, and we go for the Fury Swipes, which actually end up doing a lot of damage, enough that we actually get the help from Arven, and of course his Knackley, and we take down the Bombardier, which means we've gotten another dub. Is this some of that green stuff that Joe Rogan likes? Nah, Maboostif. pull up that video of that Ursa ring mauling the shit out of a Nimble. So now that we've sorted out the Flying Sky Titan, it's time to move on to our first challenge against one of the evil teams of Team Star. Now, Giacomo is the weird DJing boy, so we're going to be battling him first. He's got 2 Pokemon, starting things off with a Pawniard. This thing, well, we hit it very hard with our hits. We, of course, go for Bug Bite, and we set up Silk Trap, which is an awesome move, by the way. Bug Bite the second time around takes him down, and now against the giant Revavroom, we have to kind of switch our team in and out, making sure we do as much damage as possible before, of course, using Spidops, or as we like to call him, Spidey. Either way, the second mobile here, we actually somehow get 5 hits in a row, which was crazy with the Fury Swipes, so we keep using it, but he does get us with the, well, the Snarl eventually, which does a lot of damage and lowers our special attack, which we don't really need. But we make sure to finish things off with Spidey with the Bug Bite, and we've defeated Giacomo, which means we can now continue. First up, we're going to catch Pineco. This is because we do have Fortress available in the gym rematch battle against Katy, so we bonk the shit out of this tree, which causes it to eventually fall down. Now, this thing is really good defensively, so we're going to have a really good use for it. However, next up is going to be Iono, the most annoying of gym leaders in all of this game. Nomona is here again. So yeah, we got to battle Nomona, which I freaking hate doing, but it doesn't really matter. First up is Spidey, who we just use the, well, just get set up the Silk Trap, and then it's mostly just spamming Bug Bite against the rest of the team. Because we do have the type advantage against Floragato, we're able to set up a Silk Trap to survive the second hit from it, and then eventually we hit it with another Bug Bite, which takes Floragato down. But now that we defeated the Mona, please leave me alone. Either way, we're going to be heading inside and taking on Iono. First up, we do some hide and seek with Clavel, which wasn't very difficult. However, we end up losing the battle against Iono. This was a very difficult one, so we decide, let's go to Cascarafa instead, and make sure we pick up a Muscle Band, which is an item that will increase our attack damage on a Pokemon, and Leftovers, which will restore HP every single turn. These 2 items will come in clutch, and we really needed them to defeat this battle. So, Freddy Fazbear, or little Teddiursa, goes up first, gets hit by a Spark, which does do a little bit of damage. However, we have a Normal Gem, which is an item that gets used up after one use, but actually boosts all our normal type attacks. So, we use that to take down Wattrel, and then we just try to get as much damage as we can onto the Belly Bolt, until eventually we send out Spidey with Assurance and Silk Trap to make sure it protects itself to do as much damage as humanly possible against this giant big turd. But after doing a few Bug Bites, well, guess what? The giant man falls. Eventually, we're down to now Luxio. This thing, we set up Silk Trap just to outspeed it because, well, it does outspeed us initially. And then we switch out Spidey to make sure our actual damage, our attacking stat, is going to be reset because of the fact that the Luxio has Intimidate, which, well, is going to lower our general attack. So when we come out again with the Bug Bite, Luxio is gone, leaving us only now with the Mismagius. Now, this thing is really annoying. Of course, it's going to Terrestrialize into an electric type, but we make sure to go for the, well, the Silk Trap to protect ourselves, and then it tries to use Confuse Ray. We still manage to protect ourselves for a second round. Now, the reason I do this is so that Leftovers can restore as much of our HP as possible, which it actually ends up doing. And then eventually, after 2 Bug Bites, this thing goes down. So, we've defeated Iono, got ourselves another gym badge. However, it looks like Squidward Lady here is once again going to bother us. So, we make sure to evolve Sursuki into a Low Kicks. Now, of course, it's going to have the Dark typing on it, which is going to make it, well, quite interesting. It can come in handy, but also be very difficult. So, we give it Lunge, which is a move that is going to do a lot of damage, and then it's time to go and take on the Fire-type squad. Now, I'm going to be real with you guys. This battle was awful for us. We lost every single time. We just couldn't beat her. We just ended up losing every single battle against her. So, we decide, okay, we can't beat Mela and her Fire squad, so let's go and take on the giant, I guess, sausage, if you want to call it that. We're going to take on Orthworm. Now, this thing is weak against any fighting type moves, so we make sure to go for Low Kick with the help of our boy Spidey over here, and we're able to take it down relatively quickly. Then, of course, Arvin comes in and helps us out, and we just go for Low Kicks because it does enough of the damage, which means we got ourselves another Herba Mystica. Is this another one of those that Joe Rogan likes to use? Either way, it doesn't matter. We finished another mission, and I'm not going to give you my sandwich this time, you bastard. Either way, we head over to Cascarafa, where well, we head after the fishman who's gone to the market over here. Once we meet him, though, well, his little lackey, I guess, decides to battle us. His name is Hugo, but we defeat him easily. And then he's asking us, hey, Jamie, put up that video of the guy fighting the Onyx. Either way, we make sure we buy some sketchy stuff, of course, for Joe Rogan over here. But after finishing that, the gym chest is done. And now we can battle the fake, I guess, water-type fishman Joe Rogan. First up, he's going to, of course, be Veluza. Now, we start off by getting hit by the Pluck. I'm going to be real, we lost the first battle when we did this the first time, so we had to re-battle him. And then we go for Spikes. Now, we can actually use Nuki, and I called him Nuki because he likes to nuke himself, because he is is a Pineco, but we make sure to use them to set up spikes, which will do damage every time a Pokemon is switched in. Then we use our friend, well, Freddy Fazbear, to finish up the other Pokemon. We do get flinched here multiple times, but there is a sandstorm going around, which means we do get some damage in even when we're not doing anything. Instead, Sir Sucky comes out with the Trailblaze and destroys the Wug Trio easily at this point, leaving us now with a Crabominable. Now, this thing, of course, is going to terrestrialize into a water type, because normally it is fighting ice, I think, but it takes us down with a Hammer Arm, so we have to rely on our boy Spidey here, who sets up a Silk Trap, which is able to protect him and also lower the speed of the Crabominable, which allows for a low kick to finish things up and give us another one of our gym badges. This time it's from the big man himself, but fear not, after finishing this battle up, we do have a few more battles left to go. So, okay, leave me just alone. Please, Nemona, leave me alone. But we are going to go back to Mela now, which is the fire-type star leader. First time around, we really didn't have much of a chance, but now we are way more ready. First up is the Torkoal. We go out with Nuki, and well, we get a little bit destroyed by some of those hits, but we try to use Rollout to do as much damage as possible. However, the Clear Smog takes us down, so Freddy Fazbear comes out, and here we try our best to go for Slash, which of course we have the normal gem to use to, I guess, get more damage done. However, that doesn't really work out, so Sir Sucky comes out with the low kick and takes down Torkoal, leaving us now with the Shedar Starmobile. Now, this thing is really high damage, and of course it tries to use Screech and whatnot to lower our defenses, but we try to go for the low kick, which doesn't do enough of damage, so we are in a bit of a weird spot. Instead, Spidey comes out, we avoid the first attack, and then we hit the low kick the second time around. Next up, though, we're using Counter. Now, this move is incredible. Basically, we counter the attack that came onto us, any physical move, and we do double the damage actually taken. So, if we get hit by a really hard attack, in this case, the Blazing Torque, we're able to counter it back towards the Shedar Starmobile and do a lot of damage. We do get burned here, but fear not, like I said, the counter does enough damage, and we take down another one of the challenges. Of course, this time it was against Mela, who, well, I mean, I don't know, man, she just looks a bit sketchy with those boots. Either way, next up, we talk to Penny and get ourselves some free rewards before we head over to Lavencia, where we actually evolved Teddiursa into Ursaring. So yes, we have the big boy, but we also evolved Nuki into his bigger, better version. It's going to, of course, be the Giant Fortress. Now, this thing is a steel type, so it's going to be very useful, and we also try to give it some new moves, like, for example, Heavy Slam, which will come in handy against the next battle, because the next battle is against the poison types of course, none else than Atticus, but this does not really go as planned, as we again get totally demolished by Atticus, so we have to do something else. We gotta go get Metal Claw. Now, to get Metal Claw, we actually have to craft it ourselves, but we're missing Teddiursa claws, so we head over to Artisan East, and in this location, we're able to find ourselves a Teddiursa, whose claw we get, and next we can make Metal Claw and give it to Ursaring. Now that we have that, we go back to Atticus and have ourselves a proper battle. First up, though, we go in with Nuki and set up those spikes, which are perfect, as we're able to now, of course, do, I guess, just a bunch of pitch damage, or just general damage anytime a Pokemon comes in. The Sucker Punch does hit us pretty hard, though, but just not enough, and anytime it tries to go for Toxic, we are immune to it, so we just spam Heavy Slam until we take down the Skuntank. Next up is Revavroom, who gets damaged by the, of course, spikes, but we don't really do a lot of damage with the heavy slams here, but we try to just keep going for the rollouts until eventually they build up enough damage, because of course rollout will just keep going. Then we do go up against a Muck. Here was a bit dangerous because it had Mud Slap, which ended up basically lowering our accuracy so much that we couldn't do any more damage, so instead we send out Ursaring, aka Freddy Fazbear, to finish things up with a bunch of Metal Claws. Now that we've done that, we also gotta take down the giant Navi Starmobile. This thing hits us with Noxious Talk, which does loads of damage, but we have counter again from Spidey, which is able to do a lot of the work. We get hit once more with the Noxious Talk, where I think even Poison here, but the counter keeps doing enough damage that we're able to almost take it down, but we still have to rely on one of our last few Pokemon, which is Sir Sucky. He goes in, gets hit by the Noxious Talk, which of course does a lot of damage, but not enough to defeat him, which means we've taken down Atticus as well, which, hey, means we've taken down pretty much mostly majority of all of the members. And you know what, Penny? Leave me alone. I don't like you. But we head over to Medali City. This is where we're going to find the most favorite of all gym leaders. It's going to be Larry. But first up, we got to make the sketchiest sandwich I've ever heard of. There's lemon in it? I don't know about this one, Chief. But also, what happens to all the people here while they're eating the food? Like, where did all the customers go? What happened to them? Well, doesn't really matter. Not my problem. Larry, let's do this. First things first, Larry comes out with a Komala. We go for the spikes, but he makes sure to use Yawn on us, which is going to put us to sleep. So I decide, okay, well, we have two options here. Either we go to sleep or we set up a second spike, which is, of course, going to be a little bit more useful. So we decide to set up the spikes and then switch in Freddy Fazbear. We go for the low kick, which does a lot of damage. However, he does again use the Yawn against us, so I decide to switch things in with Nuki once more, and we hit him with Heavy Slam a second time around, with, I guess, the help of the slash earlier, and we're able to take him out. Dun Dunsparce comes out next, and we go in for Freddy Fazbear again, get hit by the glare, which is going to paralyze us, which means we're going to have to try to survive the Hyper Drill, which does a lot of damage, but low kick is able to do a lot more on its end. A second low kick takes it down, leaving us with only really one more Pokemon. It is Staraptor. It has Intimidate when it comes out. Also, why are you calling more people into the crowd? This is a very crowded place already. It's kind of a hazard. Either way, he terrestrializes his Staraptor, and of course, we get destroyed. Freddy Fazbear doesn't stand a chance, but Nuki comes out with the Heavy Slams and does a lot of the work, actually. We keep just using Heavy Slam over and over again, and eventually, we do survive all those aerial aces, and we'd also take down Staraptor. So hey, guess what? Guess Nuki is just incredibly useful. We've taken down another gym, but fear not, there's still a lot of challenges to go. Hello, Squidward. I see you're here again, but I'm not going to battle you, Squidward, right? Just leave me alone. Oh, my lord, she's going to force me to battle Nemona. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's do this. So first up is going to, of course, be none else than the Lycanroc. We go for the Heavy Slam, which after a single hit, we're able to take down. And we also set up spikes, so we're getting a lot of chip damage. Next up, we just literally spam Heavy Slam through the rest of this whole team, leaving us only with, of course, Meowscarada. This thing is going to be weak against, well, a few of our Heavy Slams, as we're able to do a lot of damage, but then eventually Bug Bite, it's all that's necessary to take it down and give us another victory. And to be honest, I'm really tired of you, Nemona. I don't want to deal with your shit. So we run up the hill to Glaciata Mountain, as we're going to make our way to Montenevera. Now, inside of here, we make sure to heal ourselves up. Then we talk to the very excited gym trainers, and of course, then it's time to do the gym test, which goes relatively quickly as we take down Shaggy. But now it's time to take on Busta Rhyme as she takes her Mimikyu and Banette into our face. We start with the Metal Claw against Mimikyu to take down Disguise, which is an ability that basically gives it a free shield, which is great for it, but not good for us. The Shadow Sneak does a decent amount of damage, but the Sucker Punch is the bigger hit. So the second time around, Metal Claw is able to do enough damage with the help of the Heavy Slam to take down Mimikyu. Though we do have next a Banette, which gets destroyed by a Heavy Slam as well, leaving us with, of course, Toxtricity and Houndstone. We're going to be focusing on the Toxtricity here. That's because it is the terrestrialized Pokemon, so it will do more damage with any of its moves. So it does hit us with the Discharge, which makes us paralyzed on one end, but fear not, the Phantom Force from the Houndstone will just give us an opportunity to just focus in on Toxtricity with the Heavy Slam and the Metal Claw to destroy it. However, Houndstone still lives, so a single Metal Claw and as well as a Heavy Slam are able to take him down, giving us another one of our gym badges. This was actually one of the easier ones, to be frankly honest. I don't think we've even switched in a single Pokemon, but fear not, the few other battles that will come are going to be a bit more difficult. So, we're hunting for the giant boy. Well, look at him. He's just magnificent, to be honest, but he is here, and he is the Great Tusk, the Quaking Earth Titan. We go for the Heavy Slams, which do a bit of damage, and I'm going to be real, should have just used one of our attacking moves right away, like Counter in this case, came in clutch, as honestly, this thing is just weak to a lot of fighting type moves. We finish him up with the Trailblaze, and now, of course, me and Arvin can finally get our hands on Joe Rogan's favorite Herba Mystica. I mean, look at the size of this thing, Jamie. It's just amazing. It's just so good. Either way, now it's time to finish things up and head over to the next location. First up, we're going to be looking out to where we need to go. Well, we need to go get our hands on specifically the next gym badge, which is going to be against Tulip and her little squad up in her city, Alfrenada. Now, before we do anything, of course, we're going to be running into the gym and running into our least favorite person, Nemona. I am really sick of seeing you, but I can't really do much about it, can I? I'm basically just doomed to live my life with you. It feels like hell. Literally a loop. Either way, first up Pokemon-wise, it's going to be her Lycanroc. We get hit by the Rock Slide, but it doesn't really matter. We go for the Low Kick, which does a decent chunk of damage, but again, we're not really going to rely much on our friend here to do much of the work. Spidey is just really kind of in the way. Instead, Nuki is going to come out with the Spikes, and then we're going to get hit by, well, one of her moves, which doesn't do a lot of damage. However, the Heavy Slam destroys her Lycanroc. Next up is going to be the Palmo, which hits, or Palmot in this case, because they all look the same, to be frankly honest. But we get hit by the Spark, which does a lot of damage. Rollout does most of the squad's damage here and takes down Palmot, as it is the only move we really could use in this case. Spikes do damage to Sligo. The Dragon Pulse is able to take us down to about 22 HP, but we do have, of course, keep in mind, we do have the leftovers, which means we're always getting some HP back. Next up is going to be, well, everybody's favorite Meowscarada. Again, it is weak to bug types, of course, because of its grass typing and whatnot. So we are able to do most of the damage with the help of the heavy slams and, of course, the bug bites, which are able to take it down after only really 2 hits. So the second bug bite destroys it. So, are you going to leave me alone finally?
No, I'm not going to leave you alone.
Alright, well, I give up. Well, either way, ladies and gentlemen, now it's time to do some weird yoga with these guys, as they're just really into it. I don't really see the point in doing any of this, but if it makes the old people happy, then I guess it's fine. Either way, Tulip is going to be the next gym. Of course, her team is, well, it's a well-balanced team. She's got a Farajiraf up first. This thing is a newer Pokemon. It's just, you know, brand new. Of course, it's Scarlet and Violet. We set up spikes around it as the first thing to do, and then we get hit by a crunch. Now, the first time we actually battled her, if I remember correctly, we ended up losing this battle, but eventually I figured out how to actually properly battle her. So we set up the spikes and then we switch our boy out. The reason we did that is to save him for, well, I guess the same battle again here. And then eventually Bug Bite, with the help of a few Metal Claws, is able to take her down. Espathra comes out, gets hit by the spikes, and then Shadow Balls our little Nuki, but we have the Bug Bite again, which does a lot of the damage, so it's mostly just spamming back and forth. Bug Bites, Shadow Ball, Shadow Ball, until eventually the Espathra is done for. However, we don't really stand much of a chance against the Gardevoir. Nuki goes down to a single Psychic, and most of our team has a hard time dealing with the Psychic attack here, as they're all just getting pretty much demolished by it. So we make sure to go in for Sir Sucky with the Sucker Punches, and eventually we're able to take down Gardevoir. Florges is the final Pokemon. In this case, we are, well, just gonna go for a single lunge, as it's now made itself even more weak to our Bug-type moves. So Florges is destroyed, and we got ourselves our penultimate gym badge, which means there's only one to go, ladies and gentlemen. You're really stinky. I can smell you from all the way over here. We fly over to Montenevera because it's the easiest way to get to our next location, which is specifically to go and capture ourselves a new Pokemon. We pick up Hyper Beam, a TM, up on this little ledge, and then we run into the Northern Province. The reason we are here is to capture ourselves a Heracross. This is another one of the Pokemon that Katy uses in her rematch team in the gym battles, so we make sure to add it to our squad because it is going to be a massive W. This is actually why I nicknamed it Massive W. Don't ask why, but either way, we go inside of the next gym, and here, of course, as per usual, Nemona is here to stalk us as always. Either way, the gym test is just, I guess, doing some sick tricks down the slope, bro. After doing these sick tricks, it's time to take on none else than Grusha, who uses Ice-type Pokemon. First things up is going to be the Frostmoth. We just really start out with mostly Nuki as per usual, go for the giant Gyro Ball, which is doing a lot of the damage, and set up spikes again to make sure we get that chip damage. However, Frostmoth does have the advantage on us and does destroy us, so when we send out our boy Spidey, she sets up Tailwind as well, so we make sure to finish it off so it doesn't really cause any more damage. Instead, we get hit by an Icicle Crash, which does do a lot of damage towards us, but Low Kick is going to be stronger. Of course, Ice types are weak against any of those possible fighting type moves we have. Ice Spinner comes in next and does a lot of damage to Spidey, but again, not enough to defeat him. Instead, we're able to set off a few Low Kicks before eventually we're down to only 3 HP. But Titan is done for. What is going to be the last Pokemon though? Well, it's going to be Altaria, of course. This thing is now going to be terrestrialized into an Ice type. Normally it is Flying Dragon if I remember correctly, but fear not, we're going to be spamming as much as we can here. Hurricane takes us down, so we have to rely on our remaining Pokemon. In this case, we do have, of course, Freddy Fazbear. The Hurricane doesn't do much. The Play Rough does go pretty clutch, actually. Does a lot of damage. However, the Hurricane the second time around takes us down, so the Sucker Punch is the only thing we can rely on from Sir Sucky over here, and we've taken down Grusha, and we've got ourselves the final gym badge. Either way, we make it over to the next location, as we're going to be taking on the Fairy Squad. We also give Aerial Ace to our Heracross, the Walking W, and then it's time to take on this creepy old man. Now, we don't really know much about him. All we know is that he's got himself a bunch of fairy types. So, the Gyro Balls and the Heavy Slams take down the Morgrim, but there is still one more Pokemon, which is going to be the Hatterim. Same thing with this one. We pretty much demolish it. Next up, we do some running around and just, I guess, destroying a bunch of little fairy type Pokemon before it's time to take on the penultimate member of course, Team Star. This fella right here, well, he doesn't really stand much of a chance. He's got himself a Azumarill out first. We set up spikes twice, and I'm gonna be real, this was the biggest clutch ever from our boy I mean, our boy Nuki. He just kept spamming heavy slams and it did most of the work, as Meryl doesn't stand a chance. Next up is Dashboon. This thing gets hurt by the spikes, and then the heavy slams just keep coming through to do most of the HP and take it out relatively easily, leaving us with really only Wigglytuff here. We heavy slam it again over and over again, which does most of the work and takes down this fairy type as well. Now, I'm gonna be real, honestly, our fella really did most of the work. Like, Nuki did most of the work in this battle, but he doesn't really stand much of a chance against the Rushpa. It's able to survive a few of the hits from it, and we're able to, I guess, dissipate the mist eventually, but heavy slam doesn't really do a lot of damage. Neither does the gyro ball, so we kind of eventually do end up losing him. So instead, Freddy Fazbear comes out with the Metal Claw, which does do a decent chunk of damage, and Saki is able to do most of the work too. And so, yeah, our whole team kind of has to work together to finish off this battle, as Ortega was a little bit of a pain in the ass. But fear not, the battle is over now, which means we only have 2 more challenges to do before we can take on the ultimate things in this game, which is of course going to be the Elite Four. Hello, Penny. I see you've not changed. So, time to head over to Medali, which was going to be our starting point to get to the Dragon Titan, or rather the false Dragon Titan. As we surf and sky our way down to the bottom, we of course run into a tiny piece of sushi, which gets totally chomped up. Oh my god. Can we just accept the fact that it just basically got eaten? It's a bit disturbing. Dondozo, though, doesn't stand much of a chance to most of our moves, and eventually, after hitting him with Skitter Smack a few too many times, he gets sad and goes away. Afterwards, we go after him and find him next to this cave, where he just decides to blast himself with a bunch of Herba Mystica, and with the help of course, Arven, we're able to do as much damage as humanly possible. After taking down Dondozo, we thought, well, this is good, but the sushi has returned. I guess as we killed Dondozo, the sushi decided to, well, come back to life. We finish it off, and now me and Arven, well, we can get the final Herba Mystica to give to Joe Rogan.
I love Herba Mystica, Joe Rogan.
Either way, now we make our way over to, of course, the final challenge, which is going to be to take on Eri of the Fighting Top Squad. Now, Clavel is here just to kind of bother us, and of course, Eri is here as well. We give Ice Spinner to our boy Fortress. The reason for this, and the reason we make sure Nuki has that move, is because a lot of this Pokemon we're going to battle right now can actually be damaged by the Ice Spinner, so it can come in clutch. However, of course, we do also have a lot of disadvantages. So Nuki goes out first with the spikes to make sure, again, we get that chip damage. Heavy Slam comes in next, which does a lot of damage, but again, it's not enough. So we just keep spamming until Toxicroak is defeated. But the rest of his team, well, they are a bit more strong against us, so the second Heavy Slam is enough to just kind of damage the Annihilate a tiny bit before we get totally destroyed. Next up is Sir Sucky. We try to do as much as we can, but the close combat is just really powerful, but at least its defense goes down, so we're able to Sucker Punch it to death. Axe Kick does a lot of damage against Passimian, but the close combat from the Passimian as well destroys Sir Sucky, so we have to rely on the rest of our squad. Walking W comes out and is literally a Walking W with the Aerial Ace. Next up, though, is going to be, of course, this big fella with the Dragon Pulse, so we go for the Aerial Ace again, and eventually I decide to Swords Dance, and the reason I did this was because I thought, okay, well, if I can Swords Dance, maybe the Aerial Ace will do enough damage, because we didn't have close combat yet. You see, for whatever reason, Heracross learns close combat way later in this game, so we didn't really have access to it just yet, which is the reason I couldn't really use it here yet. And the only TM for close combat, I think I already gave away to another one of our Pokemon, so it didn't really matter. We're kind of in a shitty spot, or actually, I think you get the TM from specifically this battle. Doesn't really matter. Spin Out comes out, does a lot of damage to, I guess, Spidey, and I decide, okay, well, I'm going to use Counter here, which eventually does give us the W. So, we did defeat the Team Star member Eri, which means we've completed all of our regular journeys throughout the game, and now we just have to go and deal with, of course, all the post-game stuff. First up is going to be, of course, the Elite Four. We run up this giant hill, and eventually we run into the Squidward lady in front of the big building. Now that we've entered the big building, it's time to take on the general test. Now, I'm going to be real, I hate this test. It's kind of annoying sometimes because if you're just clicking and spamming A and B like I do, you end up making a lot of mistakes. Either way, first battle is going to be against Rika, who's the first Elite Four member, who uses a bunch of ground-type Pokemon. We get hit by the Earth Power onto our boy Nuki, but we manage to set up spikes in the meantime, which is great, because that means whenever Pokemon comes in, we're going to do a lot of damage. Set up spikes a second time, and Earth Power takes eventually Nuki down, which was bad for us, but fear not, we do have the rest of our squad ready to go. So Sucky comes out with the Trailblaze and is able to do a lot of damage, but we ended up actually getting damaged by a bunch of Muddy Waters and whatnot, and then against the giant Camerupt, we're just hoping that Confusion is enough to take him, I guess confuse him so we can get the final hit, but it is not. So instead, Walking W comes out with the Aerial Ace, takes it down, but we still have to deal with the rest of the team here. We go for Brick Break, which does a lot of damage and takes down Donphan, but there's still a few more Pokemon, like for example Dugtrio. So with the Mega Horn, we're able to take it out, and then we finally have to deal with the giant Clodsire. And I freaking love Clodsire, by the way. It's adorable, I think it's cute, but it does also defeat the Walking W, so that's not cool. Play Rough is able to do a lot of damage, and Low Kick finishes things up. That means Rika is down for the counting, which means the next battle is going to be against this tiny little turd. I really don't like Poppy. She's annoying, but she uses Steel-type Pokemon, which means we have a interesting balance here because a lot of our Pokemon have Fighting-type moves, which means we should have an advantage. Copperajah is out first, so we set up the spikes, making sure we can do as much as we can here. The Bug Bite spam comes in next, as we're able to Bug Bite the life out of this thing as much as we can. Of course, Nuki goes down. The only reason we really use him is to set things up, and then we make sure to destroy the rest of the team as much as we can with the help of the, I guess, Axe Kicks here from the help of Low Kicks. However, he's not able to do much than, I guess, take down the Copperajah. So instead, we go in with Heracross, and here we set up, I guess, the Swords Dance, I think a few times before we spam Mega Horn against the Bronzong, which does take it down, but there is still a few more Pokemon that are hard to deal with. Like, for example, the Magnezone, which destroys us with a Discharge, and now we have to deal with the rest of the team with, of course, Spidey, whose I changed to Sir Sucky as well for whatever reason. Don't ask me why. I think if I was trying to rename them, I kind of messed up. But either way, next up is going to be Tinkaton, and this thing... Oh boy, okay, so this thing hits us with the giant hammer, which demolishes our boy, but we do, of course, have Freddy Fazbear with the close combat, which is actually the one I gave the TM to, which eventually takes this thing down. And of course, at this point, I think we also learned close combat on our Walking W, our Heracross, which means we now have close combat on 2 Pokemon, if I remember correctly. First up is the Swords Dance, of course, which is just super useful against this team. We do get hit by a giant Air Slash, which does a lot of damage, but again, fear not, we go for a second Swords Dance because I knew this thing was going to use Sunny Day, which of course it uses because then it can just use a Solar Beam. But that was the perfect opportunity because now we have 2 Swords Dances up, which means we can just spam Brick Break and spam, I guess, Aerial Ace as much as possible. However, the Oricorio survives, so we go in with the Sucker Punch and take it down. I think that was a Sucker Punch or an Axe Kick. I'm not really sure myself either, to be honest. So Freddy Fazbear comes out against the Altaria. We get hit by, I think, a Dragon Pulse here, which does a lot of damage, but Play Rough is able to take it down to only really like 25% of its HP left at this point, and a second Play Rough destroys it. Meaning we have one final Pokemon, which is going to be the Terrestrialized Flamigo, and oh my lord, this thing was hard. Now, I did actually rebattle these gym leaders, or rather these Elite Four members. I did rebattle them quite a few times. The Brave Bird destroys Sir Sucky, and we really only have our boy here to rely on. So when the Brave Bird comes in, we go for the Ice Spinner, which eventually does take it down. We're able to survive. I'm gonna be real. My guy here was the hardest, okay? Lenny was the hardest. So when the weird walking man comes in with the dragon types, I'm not that afraid, okay? We have Ice Spinner on one of our team members, so we've got like Nuki with the Ice Spinner, which is able to do a lot of damage, as you can see. And on top of that, we can set up spikes, whatever we really want to do. Like, basically, I'm not too stressed about how to handle Hassel. Like, Lenny was way more difficult because, of course, he had, freaking flying types, which have an advantage on all our bug-type Pokemon, but I really wasn't worried about this situation. Drugalgi, same thing here. We're able to mostly just set up a bunch of Aerial Aces and do most of that. As the Sludge Bombs do come through, they do a lot of damage, but again, not enough to really destroy us. So against the Flapple, and a single Aerial Ace is all that's needed, leaving us now with, of course, the Haxorus. Same thing here. We go for the Close Combat, which we finally learned, and then only really Excalibur remains. If we can outspeed here, that means we're able to defeat him right off the bat, which is exactly what we do. A single outspeed, and boom, Excalibur's down, which means we've defeated the Elite Four members, taken down every single one of them, including the annoying Larry, but that means there's only one challenge left to go at the championship, and it's going to be against Geta and her weird Squidward hair. First up is going to, of course, be a Spathra. We use this Swords Dance, but because of Opportunist, it's actually getting the boost as well. And then it sets up Reflect, which is going to make just the enemy team stronger against, I guess, physical moves for a while. And then it also hits us with a few hits, but the Mega Horn is able to take it down. Next up is going to be Go-Goat. We get hit by the Play Rough, which destroys us. So we have to rely on our boy, I guess, Sir Sucky here, to come through with the Lunge, as this thing decides to go for a Bulk Up, which really just wasn't logical at all. So a second Lunge is able to take him down. However, the next Pokemon is going to be King Gambit. This thing is actually really hard to take down, but thankfully we do have a lot of fighting type moves like Axe Kick, which destroy it. Lunge against Veluza does the same thing, and same thing goes for Avalugg. We simply just go for an Axe Kick 2 times in a row, and it destroys the Avalugg, leaving only really Glamora left to deal with. Again, I don't know if you guys have noticed it, but you guys can tell me in the comment section down below. is Geta probably the most easy, I guess, champion in all of Pokemon. Like, she's so generally easy to defeat, it's actually kind of crazy. Glimmora, though, gets hit by a few Ice Spinners here, but it's not enough to take it down, so we gotta make sure that the close combat with Freddy Fazbear is enough as we get ourselves the final W, and we've taken down the champion, which means, yes, we're now also a champion trainer of the region, but that means we have to battle Nemona again. And I'm gonna be real with you guys, I don't want to. But it doesn't really matter. First, we head over to the Poco Path, where Arvin is going to be telling us all about his Robo-Mommy, who he needs to meet again, and then he, of course, wants to battle us to prove how strong he is to, of course, his Robot Mommy. But his first Pokemon is going to be Greedent. This thing is just a bit weird. It's just a giant chunky boy, but it doesn't change the fact that we have Swords Dance and Close Combat, which destroys Greedent, and same thing goes for Scovillain. We just go for the, I guess, Aerial Ace, the Close Combat, whatever we really got to use to take them all down. Garganical, and same thing with even the Toadscruel, we're able to go for the Mega Horn, which demolishes it. Then there is, of course, the Cloyster. In this case, we go for Close Combat, which again is really powerful, leaving only one more Pokemon, which of course is going to be the Doggo himself. So against this guy, well, it's just Close Combat, and Mabustiff is gone, ladies and gentlemen, which means we've completed our journey on the side of the Path of Legends. Now that we've sorted that out, though, we still have a few more things to do. Like, for example, we got to reveal who Clive is. Oh my god, it's Clavel! Well, the battle against him was actually pretty difficult. First up, we go for the Swords Dance to make sure we set up the Walking W again, and we do get drowsied by the Yawn. So when the Mega Horn does come through, I make sure to try to just take down the Oranguru before we switch Walking W out and send Freddy Fazbear out instead. I mean, the next Pokemon was going to be a Houndoom, so it actually made total sense. As we do lose Freddy Fazbear, it's not the end of the world. We do have Sir Sucky coming out instead with the Axe Kick, which demolishes Houndoom, but it also means we have to deal with a Bomber Snow. Again, a lot of these Pokemon, luckily for us, are weak against a lot of fighting type moves, so when we do get hit by the Blizzards and whatnot, we just are able to Sucker Punch and finish things off. Same thing goes for the Poltegeist, as a single Sucker Punch is able to destroy it. As for the Amoonguss, the giant Amoonguss, we are able to lunge it twice and take it out, leaving only really Quaquaval. Now, we are poisoned at this point with our boy Sir Sucky, but it doesn't really matter, as the Trailblaze comes through and is able to, well, just kind of do a tiny bit of damage before we actually lose Sir Sucky. Nuki comes out next. We get hit by the Aqua Step, which does do a little bit of damage, but we do have Ice Spinner and, of course, some few other moves like Bug Bite and whatnot, so we just keep using them over and over again until eventually the giant dancing bird has been destroyed. That also means Clavel's been destroyed, and we can go and take on the next challenge. We go to the schoolyard where we run into Cassiopeia. Oh, wait, Penny, that's you? Okay, well, Penny's got herself a team of just, I guess, Evolutions, which is a little bit strange. I mean, I never realized, but she's basically carrying around a giant dead Eevee on her back. I mean, I know it's a backpack, but is it made out of Eevees? That would be a bit weird. Either way, massive Walking W over here has set himself up with 2 Swords Dances, and now we're just spamming a bunch of close combats on the rest of the team until we go up against the Leafeon, where we missed the Mega Horn. Had we hit this, I think we would have swept her whole team, but we don't hit it, which means our boy goes down. Instead, we go in with the lunges from Sir Sucky, which take down Leafeon, leaving her with only really one situation to go with, which is going to be Sylveon, which she does terrestrialize into a fairy type. Now, this thing is a little bit scary, okay? It does have Moonblast and stuff, which it does a lot of damage with, but we do have a giant steel type Pokemon, so a single heavy slam takes the Sylveon down. Now that we sorted that out, it means we are done with Cassiopeia, we're done with Penny, and we're done with the Starfall Street journey. Now that we completed that, though, there's only one person left to go. You guys know who she is. It's Nemona Town, baby. Okay, so Nemona is got her final battle against us, and I'm gonna be real, her team is probably one of the strongest ones in this game that you will find. We make sure to set up again these Sword Stances. We do get hit really hard here by the, I guess, Accelrocks, whatever that was, and we're able to take him down with a single hit afterwards. Next up, though, is going to be Palmot. Same thing here, we're able to close combat it, and as for the rest of the team, it's mostly the same. Of course, Dunsparce, because of it typing, is going to be weak against fighting type moves, plus the Sword Stance means we're able to do most of the damage with just the help of Walking W. As you may notice, this battle was way easier than normally, and this again is because of the fact that we do have this Heracross. It's able to do most of the work, and when we terrestrialize this thing, or rather when she terrestrializes, a single Mega Horn is able to destroy Masquerada and give us our victory, which means we finally completed our journey, against none else than the Mona. But that also means the victory road has now been completed. So all we gotta do is talk to Arven, head down into the sketchy Area 0, where of course we're going to be surfing down on our little Koraidon to make sure we can find what's going on, and of course help out Arven with his AI mommy who's just being weird. Either way, first we take down the Glimora, as well as some of the other Pokemon down here, or rather the, I guess, Paradox forms, and eventually make it down to the bottom of this place, where we're going to be running into, well, just a herd of Paradox Pokemon, as well as AI mommy. How you doing? Well, I don't know about you guys, but, well, she does look a certain way. Now that it's actually time to battle her, she turns into a giant AI monster and uses a bunch of, well, Paradox Pokemon. First up is going to be this thing. Now, I'm going to be real, we did lose the first battle against her. It was relatively difficult. So the second time around, I decided, okay, Walking W, you're going to be out first. We're going to again use you to set up swords dances and then just spam as much as humanly possible. The Play Roughs, though, do a lot of damage, so the Mega Horn is able to take it down. However, against the Fluttermane, it does have Mystical Fire, which we are weak to, which takes us down. However, we do have Freddy Fazbear here, so we go for the Metal Claw, which demolishes Fluttermane, which is perfect, as next up is going to be Brute Bonnet. Here we go for the close combat, as it's going to be weak against that, but it does sucker punch us when we try to go for it the second time around. Instead, Sir Sucky comes with the lunges, which again are able to take down Brute Bonnet. We have two more Pokemon. Sandy Shocks is one of the first ones. Here we just spam the Trailblaze as much as we humanly can, but it's not enough. Instead, the Axe Kick comes through as much as we can, and Power Gem destroys us. So we use, of course, our boy Nuki to finish off the Sandy Shocks, as well as to finish off the giant Roaring Moon. And ladies and gentlemen, we now get to watch as Sada just flies away into a giant hole, and that means our journey is completed.